This is Robert with Pioneer Smokehouses, and today on the Oklahoma Joe Tahoma 900, we're going to make one of my favorites, which is Hamburger Crust Pizza. I'm always striving to try to make things lower in carbs, and while I'm not eliminating carbs 100%, I definitely like to keep them really low, and this recipe is something that I kind of stumbled across in an effort to find things that would be really well matched for propane smokers. Well, it turns out that it works really good for just about any smoker as long as you can get it up into the 300-degree range. So today I went ahead and I started the smoker and I set it to preheat at 290. Currently we're at 176 degrees. So it's going to go ahead and continue preheating while we get the hamburger crusts ready. Now, first thing I want to mention to you is that I went ahead and measured out all the ingredients for two different types of crusts. One is going to be more of a taco flavor, which is a request by my wife, and this one's going to be an Italian flavor, which is the one that I've been making over and over again and really like. So let's go ahead and go over that really quick. What we have here is 1 egg, 1.5 tablespoons of Italian seasoning, 1/2 tablespoon of garlic granules, and 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Don't go over on the cornstarch because that's where most of your carbs are going to come from in the recipe. On this plate, we have standard taco seasoning. We have the bulk container of generic taco seasoning. So that's just 4 tablespoons and then 1 tablespoon of the cornstarch and an egg. Now that cornstarch is going to act as a binder, and to get your crust to react correctly this thin, you're going to need some kind of binder. And we don't want to put in anything like breadcrumbs or flour. The cornstarch is actually going to bind a lot better and require less and be less carbs for the reaction that we're going to get. So right here, I have 3 pounds of hamburger. Each recipe calls for 1.5 pounds, so I'll divide this in half and do the recipes. First thing I'm going to do is always mix your seasonings up first, especially when you have something crucial in, like your cornstarch. You want to get it mixed. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want it distributed through so that way it doesn't all come in one place and you have to over mix the meat, especially with hamburger. The less you mix it, the better it'll actually turn out. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just set in there and generally mixed. Now the smoker has just slowed down and it's showing 242, but I'm sure that it's kind of trying to ease its way right up there. So now I'm going to just set that aside while I take half of this hamburger out and put it in the bowl. When I have a hamburger, I like to try to break it up a little bit beforehand, especially when it's an in-store grind like this. You can see how light the grind is. Instead of those smashed up tubes, I always try to avoid those if possible. Sometimes you don't have an option, but this, you can just pull the strands apart and then it makes it a lot easier to mix. Go ahead. I'm going to dump this in here. Then I'm going to go ahead and crack that egg. That egg broken up first. Then we'll go ahead and mix that up. I'll be right back. Now that I have that all mixed, I'm going to kind of try to make it into a little bit of a disc in here. I am trying to avoid over mixing it like I just mentioned. The idea is to prevent over mixing it, and by flattening out a little bit, that'll give us a little bit of a head start on the next step. So now I have a pizza pan and a piece of parchment paper. If you have 2 pizza pans, you can take the parchment paper and slide it between the pans and smash it down, which will help fold the edges so that way it'll kind of sit in place. So I'm going to take the hamburger and set it as close to the center as possible. Then I'm going to work it out. Now here's another little trick for you. You can take another piece of parchment paper and you can use either a rolling pin, or you could use a plate, or in my case, I just happen to have one more pizza pan. My goal here is to smash it as level as possible. I'm going to go ahead, take that off. And the nice thing about the parchment paper is nothing sticks. And also, I don't have to worry about getting the pizza pan all dirty. Now, I'm just going to correct the sides just a little bit. Now that we have those corrected, I'm going to go around the edge and create just a little bit of a divot. And that'll be to help hold sauce in. Now you can see that, and it looks pretty good. This side here might be just a touch high. Let's go ahead and just flatten that just a little bit, and then make sure that we correct the divot. All right, now I'm going to set this to the side for a moment while I do the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this one glove. Then I can get in here and let's see what we're doing here. But it looks like we did pretty good. We're at 290. Let's go ahead and throw it in. So I went ahead and put those in there, and I went with the top shelf like normal, but I put mine on this side because it's just slightly warmer on that side. Not enough to make a big difference, but enough that we want to load our food that's thicker on the right side closest to the fire, because the fire is directly down here. Let's go ahead and close that. Now that that's loaded, we're going to go ahead and let that run for about an hour at 300 degrees. Now that will cook that crust completely through, and then it'll be ready for toppings. So I'm going to go ahead and let that roll for an hour, but that'll only be 1 second for you. It's been an hour, so we're ready to go ahead and move on to the next step. Let's go ahead and take a look here. You can see that these crusts are well cooked and most of the oil has rendered out. So we're going to go ahead and pull those out. And I'm going to go ahead and start with mine, the Italian one. Today I'm using these Cuisinart gloves. And the reason I'm using these is because these are dishwasher safe and I won't have to worry about any of the mess. So not only will they handle the heat, but they'll also clean up really easily. Basically, you just got a standard silicone glove here, and I can slide them on right over my regular latex gloves, grab the food, pull it out like this, and set it down without having to worry about getting burned at all. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this oil first. Then I'm going to go ahead and transfer this off of the parchment paper. get rid of as much of that fat as possible. And then I'm going to transfer it over to a pizza rack. Now what I normally use these for is to put small pizzas in the smoker. And it's nice because it allows the bottom to get crispy at a lower temperature. But it also works really good when we're talking about upping the temperature a little bit. So now let's go ahead and put on some toppings. I think I have a little bit more than what I need here. Now I meant to show you this earlier in the video, but I made a little bit of pizza sauce and I used ketchup because the ketchup goes really well with the hamburger. So a whole batch of the sauce, which is half a cup of ketchup, 1 tablespoon of Italian seasoning, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder or garlic granules. I use granules, and then a little bit of red peppers. I actually left the red peppers out. And again, I'm not using all of it, just enough to get it coated really well. We'll go ahead and top this up like we would with any other pizza. Here we've got about a cup of Italian blend cheese. Lightly coat that. Mushrooms. A little more cheese. Olives. A little bit more cheese. I like to put the cheese mix throughout so it holds everything together. And then half of a thin sliced tomato. I use oversized Romas for this. Smallest one right there. This did shrink a little bit more because normally I would use the hamburger that's the 93%, and today I used 80. That was what was on sale. And I'll just put that back in there. And then we'll move on to the next one. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this one on a grill mat because I only have one of the pizza pans. That all nice on there. And my wife just wants to get the cheese on there, and she's going to add the rest of the toppings when it's all done. So she likes to get her toppings in there kind of fresh. She'll be doing taco toppings, so I'll pop a picture when we're all done with that up here. Now I'm going to go ahead and transfer that back in here. And get this closed. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity to check the charcoal bin. We need a half an hour more out of this, and I think we've got plenty of charcoal in there for that. I put in half a bag, which is roughly about 8 pounds, or a small bag, same difference. And that'll go ahead and cook along just fine. I did reserve just a little bit of my Italian blend cheese that I'll probably throw on right when I pull it out because I want those tomatoes to get all that heat and, you know, kind of caramelize a little bit. If you remember at the beginning I was talking about low carb, you have to remember that the tomatoes also have some carbs in it too, so you do want to be careful with how much tomatoes, tomato sauce or ketchup, and the cornstarch. The ketchup I use is store brand 50% sugar, so it is a little bit lower in carbs than the normal. We're going to go ahead and run this for 30 minutes, and then we'll be right back. That'll just be 1 second for you. So it's been almost a half an hour and these pizzas are ready to come out. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start by taking my wife's pizza out and just putting it on a plate for her. I want you to see that. Now I'm just going to take that in the house and she'll be able to deal with that in there. As soon as it cools, she'll go ahead and top it. I'll take a picture and I'll throw it up on the screen for you. I'll be right back. All right, I've taken her pizza in and now it's time to take my pizza out. And because it's on the metal rack, I'm definitely going to have to use this glove. If it were just on the grill mat, I would be able to do this by hand. I'm just going to set that in there and then I'll clean it after I'm done shooting the video. Now you can see that, and the tomatoes are just barely done, and that's really what I was gauging off of when my pizza was done, because everything else has been done for a while. Gonna sprinkle just a little bit of this cheese on. Now we're going to go ahead and give it about a minute to kind of melt down a little bit, and we'll be right back. Okay, it's been a minute. We're ready to go ahead and cut into this. It's still smoking hot. I wanted to get a really long cut, so I'm using my Victorinox slicing knife, which I also call my brisket knife. That is stacked a little high, and you could make it a little bit thinner when you prepare it to spread it out a little bit more. But with the 80% hamburger, it does tend to shrink up a little bit more. Really, the 93 is what you want to go with for the best results. Oh, look at that. I'm going to hold that right here. And if you look at that close-up, you will see a really nice smoke ring in there, which is always what we're going for. Let's go ahead and get a good bite of that. This is just one of my surprised favorites. The first time I made it, I didn't know what to expect. And since then, this has just been absolutely top of the list. I obviously love hamburgers, and that helps a little bit, but this just takes it to a next level. It is a hybrid of a pizza and a cheeseburger. So how much better can you get? Oh, I know, bacon. I forgot bacon. If I had bacon, I would have put it on there. So anyway, that's pretty much a wrap. And again, here's another look at my wife's pizza, so you can check that out. Below, you're going to find a link to the article that goes with this, where you'll find all the measurements and the cooking time and such. And below that, you'll find the review link to this smoker. And also, of course, we have links for the review video up in the corner. And finally, below that, you will find our affiliate links. If you use those, that will help support the channel, but it won't cost you anything extra. So thanks for watching and have a great day.